It's showtime! Ladies and gentlemen, Taylor Jones official in the house reporting live from my car today for the increased audio quality, joined with yours truly, John, Side Hustle Experiment, and FBA Makayla. Guys, what is going on?
What's up?
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, 6 people in the house. Holy crap, look at that. You guys must be popular people.
We try, man.
So I had a personal question. We could start off the bat, and then any of the 6 people that are in here, if you guys have questions for me, John, Makayla, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll be going probably for the next hour or however long until Makayla and John need to peace out. But I had a question, guys. I actually just recently my VA found a lead a couple days ago from Walgreens. Have either of you guys been ripping? This is the first time I've placed orders from Walgreens. I got like 10 orders through, and then they just started canceling. Have you guys cracked the code on that? Any
I've
experience there?
definitely ordered. I like Walgreens a lot. Usually you gotta like kind of be a little easy with them. I feel like usually I could usually don't have a problem doing like back to back like 12, 12, 12. After that, I think I've done 4 in a row. After that, it gets a little dicey.
Okay, so just place like one or two, wait like an hour, place some more.
Yeah, someone I remember do you remember Darren from Miami?
Yeah, I follow him.
He says that as soon as you get like the shipping confirmation, it's shipped. He's like they usually ship same day. Then that's like pretty safe to like go and
Place another one.
do some more.
Okay. Yeah, I placed 10. They all shipped. Next day, I placed another 10, and then they all canceled. I was like, oh, shit.
Was it all the same item?
Yeah,
That's probably why.
yeah. Michaela's over here with these fat POs, wholesale. She's like, I don't have time for those 3-4 unit little Walgreens orders.
No, I hate that.
Guys, if you guys got questions for wholesale, we got, Michaela's doing a lot of wholesale. Feel free to drop some questions for her. Avery should be getting in here soon.
He said he was joining.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, 2 minutes ago.
Well, he needs to step up the game.
Connection issues.
Michaela, do you want to share with us the transition that you made into wholesale, what that was like, kind of, any emotional or strategy, kind of what it was like making that transition?
Yeah, so I actually did wholesale about a couple months into my journey when I first started last year. And I hated it, so I ended up giving it up. I think it was probably during the summer. So like 5 or so months into my selling journey, and I just did full OA. And then about 4 months later, I decided to try wholesale again. And that's been obviously the most recent one. And I think honestly the best strategy for transitioning into wholesale is just to do like small portions. So like if you're 100% OA now, do like 90% OA, 10% wholesale, or like 70-30 or 50-50 or whatever, and kind of like ease your way out of it. Because if you are so used to doing OA, once you like jump into wholesale, it's not like as fast because it takes time to find suppliers. It takes time to go through catalogs. And sometimes they have like lead times. It might be 3 weeks before you get your product. And it's not like, if I go on to Walgreens and I buy something and it's sent to my house in 5 days, and then it goes to the prep center to my house, and they get sent to Amazon. It's more, more steps. It's a lot longer of a wait usually. Some places have stuff on hand, so then they can send it out within a week. But there's some places that have a lead time of 3, 4, 6 weeks. So then you're waiting all those weeks, and then there's no sales if you have no inventory. So then if you're jumping into wholesale, you have nothing to kind of fall back on. And if you need the money or like to have the money, then you should kind of like transition into it so that you have like, oh, I have my set amount of OA that I do. It pays my bills, or it makes enough money for me that I'm okay, that if I do some wholesale, that I can fall back on that. And it's not just like me fully sending wholesale and relying on that as an income.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 4 to 6 weeks. I know. I mean, I'm doing a little wholesale, but I think luckily the longest they've taken like is 2 to 3. I feel like, do you have to be even more like strict on like the keepas? I feel like you have to be so strict. Like 6 weeks, that's a long time. A lot can change on a product in 6 weeks. Like, holy crap. I only know with OA, like, holy crap, you know?
You could be tanked
Which,
by then. I mean, jeez.
Yeah,
yeah, but
you
I feel
got
like, what do you think, Makayla? Is there more consistency because you have a little exclusivity there, or you could, or is wholesale stuff still subject to that type of price tanking? What's been your experience?
I mean, with anything, it doesn't matter which strategy you use. There's going to be tanking, and that's just part of selling on Amazon. Like it doesn't matter if you do
Yeah,
OA or wholesale. I've had listings tank on wholesale. I've had listing tanks on take on OA. It's the same principles though. So like if you see a chart that has a bunch of sellers jumping on it, obviously it's the same thing in OA. It's probably going to fall.
yeah.
Just keep those same strategies. Wholesale isn't really, it's not hard in the aspect of like transitioning because it's the same principles. You're just taking it at a larger scale. You're just taking, okay, like normally I'd buy 10 units for OA, and then now maybe I'm buying 100 or 200 units. But the same principles apply. Like, you're still reading Keepa, you're still using SalaryAmp, you're using what other tools that you're going to use to do like catalog searching or whatever, and you're just using the same principles that you use during OA. You're just kind of doing it at a larger scale, and then like the way that you're sourcing products is going to be a little bit different because you can't just go and reverse source somebody's storefront and then know exactly where they're buying from. You have to kind of figure that out yourself.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Milton Jose. If you pay your VAs hourly, how do you know they're working and not at Starbucks getting a grand triple espresso decaf with acorn milk? What do you think, guys? I have my strategies. What do you guys have?
I feel like for me, like I use SellerAmp, so I could see the history in SellerAmp, usually how much. Obviously, I still source, so I could look at that, and I know when I source, so I could see how many products they've looked at. Obviously, whether or not they're putting leads in or not. If they're gonna only put 2 leads in, then that's like kind of fishy to me. Um, yeah, you just kind of tell like on their output. Also, if you use a Google Doc for them, you could look in the history of the Google Doc. One guy who was working for other people, he would just put all the leads in at one time. So I knew like he was probably like in another Google Doc or something like that. So like you want to see that like, they're being put in like not randomly, but like
30 to 40 minutes apart over several
yeah,
hours.
exactly. Like you were like if you're sourcing, like that's kind of what you want to see. You're finding like maybe like a lead an hour, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a good question. I use a SellerAmp thing, and I guess you could do like a timestamp. I know some people do have their VAs clock in and out. But even still, I mean, they could clock in and then still go to Starbucks and get the triple espresso with acorn milk. I am guessing that was a joke because I don't think that's a thing, but
I'm gonna look that up now. I was wondering that too.
there's no way. There's absolutely no way. If that is, I'm gonna be really concerned
It looks like
about
there
it.
is acorn milk.
Wow. Okay, let's see. Did all three of you guys start off with a course? Because over the last year, FBA gurus have come in and out of nowhere, and it's hard to find out who to trust. Curious on your thoughts. Did
Ask
you
them
guys take a course? What did you say, Makayla?
for their tax return.
Yeah, ask them for the tax return. That's a good question, Thomas. I'll share my experience, and then you guys can share. I never took a course. I literally flipped 3 items on eBay, and I made $100, and I was like, "Yep, I knew this. I understood the entire business model in my head of like arbitrage. It just made total sense to me." I watched one Reezy video on like him doing the Nike shoes in like the garage for 10 minutes, closed my laptop, and then I spent the next 3 months scanning stuff for like 6 hours a day, I never took a course. Um, I did, however, when I made the transition from RA to OA, I did lean on a lot of friends in the space, like Avery and other people to sort of Jameson to sort of discover strategies and stuff. So I did leverage friendships, but I never ended up. Oh, I did actually take a private label course from Brock Johnson, but I only paid like $10 for that. Um, and as for the FBA gurus, yeah, that's like a whole nother topic. I mean, I think a lot of people hate on FBA gurus and coaches and people that sell courses because like, oh, they're making money on teaching other people to make money, you know? It's like, just make sure the people that you're trusting in have like results and they're actually doing it, you know? That's probably the most important thing. I don't know. What do you guys think?
For me, I was like very lucky. I started documenting my book journey early on. So a lot of people went from books to OA. So I had a lot of friends too that I could like lean on to kind of get through there. I didn't really take a traditional course. I think I paid for 2 consulting calls, which was so helpful just to like was with the other Alexa. It was like, I don't know, it's like $180 or whatever. I literally just wrote down 20 questions and got them all answered within like an hour and a half. And I was like, this was the smartest thing ever because like I didn't have to sort through any information. And then like I feel like in terms of like it's hard to figure out who to trust. I would say like I've been like kind of big on this lately. I would say look at like their social media. Like, yes, it could be deceiving, but like on Instagram or something, if you really scroll, like you'll see a natural progression of like, when they were like in a storage unit, or like, if you look at mine, like I'm in a thrift store, now I have a storage unit, I had a warehouse, now I don't have a warehouse. Like there's just like Amazon orange bars, which don't necessarily mean that it's sales, but there's like a natural progression that like there's things going on, who they hang out with, stuff like that. And then yeah, I mean that's always like the hard part, and like just ask around. I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
ask for recommendations.
Um,
Makayla?
so when I first started, I was like in a small mentoring group. It was through one of the discords. It's called Malice. It's for botting, and somebody in the group, Matt, the owner of FBA Central, created like a little Discord group for FBA stuff, and I got into that, and they kind of taught us the ropes. And then other than that, I just taught myself from YouTube, and I didn't invest in a course until I think it was like April, so at least like 3 months into my journey.
And
As
then
far as
which course did you get?
the FBA roadmap,
FBA roadmap. Okay, nice, nice.
and as far as gurus, I mean, it's a sore subject, but I mean, you can't always trust everything that you see. Just make sure that you are fully vetting whoever you're trusting, as your mentor. People always reach out to me and they're like, well, what do you think about so and so or whatever? And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you like my thoughts on them because it doesn't matter. It's not my money. Like it's your money. Like if you jive with that person and you really like them, and maybe they don't do as much sales, or maybe they aren't as flashy with their money, and if you can jive with them and learn from them, then that's fine. And a lot of people do like
Exactly.
consulting calls, and you can do a consulting call with them, and then if everything goes well, you can be like, okay, like I really learned from so and so on the consulting call. Maybe I should take their course or their mentoring program. And then that's a good way to kind of gauge it. And a lot of those aren't very expensive, like $100, $200. It's better than spending like $5,000 on somebody you don't like.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you guys know how to check whether an item is excluded from discounts on Nike other than having a discount code? Um, you guys know, to be honest, I don't even bought some stuff from Nike in a long time.
I don't
How do you
shop.
tell if
I feel
something
like
is
usually
excluded?
I'll just like for most things, like we were talking about Walgreens earlier, a lot of times I'll just put like 10 in the cart and see if any of the coupon extensions like throw something in there. And then if they do, that's great. And if they don't, if I'm really not that interested, I just kind of move on. Or you could just like Google like Nike code and maybe try that. But usually it's marked on the website, like whether it's in the sale or not.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just closing some
I
browsers
bought from
here
Nike. I think
because
I may
my
have placed orders from Nike.com.
yeah. Yeah, I used to buy a lot of stuff from there. I feel like people are watching it way more closely now. Like you'll see a sale, and I don't know. It's not my go-to, but
Tanks.
I do this on any website though. Like if I if you just add it to your cart, like John said, and plug in the coupon, you'll see if the code works or not. And if it doesn't work, then it's probably excluded from the coupon. On Famous Footwear, it'll actually tell you excluded from coupon. It'll tell you right on the item. Look on the page. I don't know if Nike does that, but it's the opposite. With Nike, like if they're doing a big sale, on the item page, the detail page, it'll just be a regular screen, or there'll be a little caption in green font usually that says additional 25% off with code blah blah blah. And if it doesn't say that, then it's excluded. That's been my experience, at least. Okay. I don't know what's going on, why I'm so slow. Avery's having Cuba Wi-Fi problems. Oh my god, he needs to plan his trips better. Come on, buddy. Let's see. Thanks for the answers. Also noticed diving into the FB community seems big on the outside. Love the close-knit community. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot smaller than you think.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. I always advise people to get connected sooner rather than later. I mean, I sold on Amazon for probably almost 7-8 months without knowing a single person.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's also good too. Like, yeah, it's good to get in the community, but it's also gonna be like super overwhelming, especially if you don't like if you think like everything you see is like facts. That could be like very disheartening when you first start out.
It's not always what it seems. John and I have conversations about this all the time.
Yeah. Maybe we'll revisit it this week.
Do you guys want to expand on what you mean by that? Like, John, when you guys hear me?
You're like cutting out there.
Yeah, you cut out the last. The last thing I heard was expand. I don't know what you said after that.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I don't know what. Okay. I don't know why my connection is so ass right now.
I hear you now.
I thought this was gonna be better than the cafe.
Okay. It is. There it is. Makayla, do not harp on me, okay? I'm very sensitive. I'm just kidding. Okay, so John, what you want to expand on? What do you mean by that? So you're saying if you were to trust everything you see, it would be overwhelming. What do you mean by that? Like you think a lot of people are fake putting on a big show?
I don't. So I think it goes two ways. I think yes, there are some people who are definitely putting on a big show. I think once you get to like
a lot, Makayla whispers a lot.
Like 100K or you do 120K, like you are very aware of like what the numbers are, what you have to spend, and you know what you see online. Sometimes the math just does not add up because like you've been there. So like I always thought I was like so far behind, and like how are these people doing this? How are they spending like $12,000 a day and like all this stuff? And like yeah, some people are doing that or whatever. And then like I kind of learned more about like the margins, how like you know I thought everyone's making 20-30%. Like that's what I thought. Like I was like, wow, like dang, like I'm doing this wrong. Like I can't find stuff. But then like you start talking to people, like you know, 15, 10. If it moves really quick, you're like, oh, okay, like this is how people are expending all this money. But I think that's like good too. And I do think it's also very situational. So if you have like kids in a family and stuff, like you're not gonna grow this thing like someone in college. Like it's just not possible. Like you have like a ton of expenses. Like some people who are doing it in college, and this is nothing against them, right? Like they don't have insurance, they don't have rent, like the three biggest expenses that like most people have. So I think you just have to play your own game. You know, and just like it's hard sometimes. I actually stop posting numbers of like sales. I was talking to someone about today. It's like it just brings out like these weird, crazy people. Then people try to like sell you all this stuff, and it's just like, you know what, like I'm good. But yeah, I just try to keep it as honest as possible. I think realistically, most people will see like 10%, 12%. Just really depends on what you're doing. Um, Probably maybe a little. When I first started to know it, I think my first month was like 5%. Just made so many bad mistakes and bad buys, and I couldn't find stuff, so I was doubling down on what I bought, which is a bad idea. So I lost a lot of money like the first couple months, but then like when you lose money, you learn pretty quickly like to stop
Yeah,
doing certain things.
exactly. Yeah. No, I mean my two best months last year. I mean, I did 127,000, I think, one month, and I think my profit on that was only like 15K, which is like I just did the math. It's only like 11%, and that was my best month. You know, because I had a product that I was cranking like a 30% ROI, and then it tanked, but I still had like hundreds of units. Um, so yeah, I think it's easy to get caught up in comparison. It definitely is. Especially when you're like, because business is so up and down. Like you'll be cranking with a great product, and you'll be like, I am the shit. I am literally a genius. And then the next month, you lose a supplier or something, or a website bans you, and it's like, I'm going bankrupt. That's been my experience, at least. But I don't know. What are
That
your
was
thoughts
one
on
of my
that,
biggest
Makayla?
problems. Like earlier this year, like I got banned from Kohl's. Kohl's was
Oh
like
yeah,
probably like my biggest supplier. So I spent all Q1 just like rebuilding, like getting out of apparel, and it's like hard like to source like a totally new, especially once you get so ingrained and you know the sales and like how to just work the system. And now you're like, damn, like my sales like went from like I think 120 like down to like 50 in like January. I'm like, shit. But then like it's like, you
yeah,
know what? It's gonna be better off later on because like come December, like in November, when I'm just like moving tons of products that aren't apparel and it's not getting returned, I'm gonna be like really happy. I think a lot of people I think that the hardest part actually about getting started is like when you first get started, like it's real easy to do better every month because like you start at
yeah,
zero. So it's either go from 1,000 to then 2,000. Like, oh, I doubled it. But then at a certain point, when you get up there, like you're not going to go from 50 to 100. It's more like gradual. Maybe it's like 50 to 55, 50 to 60. I mean, I guess you could, but like it's kind of rare.
yeah. Makayla, when John said that there's a little bit of exaggeration, you went a lot. What do you see, and what I guess for the people watching, what do you caution people against? And from like a you know personal reference point, scaling your business, maybe someone's in the first couple months. What you see, and what's your advice to people seeing all these posts from other people?
I think the most lied about metric for Amazon is your profit margin. And you know how people like to exaggerate things. So it may be this and it actually is like this. So, and it makes you look a lot better when you say, oh, I made 20%. And I'm like, did you really make 20% or did you make more like 12? And you can't tell. You can't tell based on somebody's numbers on their Amazon because I could literally be running a store on 1% margin and nobody would know
Yeah,
because you know what I mean? Like if you're not showing like your like QuickBooks or whatever. I told John, I honestly think this is a brilliant idea. But I think it like if we had like an Amazon community on Instagram and you could get verified based on your QuickBooks, and like if you didn't supply your QuickBooks, then you couldn't have like a certain badge. So like we would have certain badges based on like our actual like business and how much we truly make. And that kind of weed out all the
yeah.
thing. You know what I
And
mean?
then we could, if you linked your QuickBooks, it automatically imported your inventory expense as a red bar that went over top of the orange
Yes.
bars.
Yeah.
Even better. I love it. It adds to it. I love that. See, and this would be
Can you
awesome because
imagine?
people
That'd
would
be
be
insane.
trustworthy then. I mean, then you can, hire whoever as a mentor and you could be like, well, this person's actually being honest. Like they're not, nothing against people who make money off of courses because I have a mentoring program, but it's not it's not even like a significant chunk of my income. But there are people who make their money off of it, and that's fine. Like I'm cool with that, but don't mislead people into thinking that you're not. Like if you are open about it, I'm good with it. Like if you say, hey, I don't really sell on Amazon anymore, I only sell to make whatever $5K a month or whatever, $2,500 a month, and I just make all my money off my courses because that's what I like doing, and I'll be like, that's fine. But there's just too many people who are acting like they're making their money from their store, but they're actually not. They're making their money from the course. And so I'm like, it's kind of blurred line.
Yeah.
Can of worms, though.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. It was interesting. I think I probably my first year on Amazon when I blew up on TikTok, I had a $15 course, and I think I sold. I don't know. I think I made just as much. I probably made 30 or 40 grand on that course, and I don't even think I made that much on
Really?
Amazon. Yeah, and it was a $15 course. But then I honestly, more recently, the content has been more of a grind for me. You know, I feel like I'd rather sit down and source at this point. Like I'd rather sit down and source than have to go and make content and come up with all these different, But back in the day, man, oh my God, I love making content. It just kind of ebb and flow as for my business at least.
I think it also goes with kind of like what's going on in the industry. Like Twitter is like just kind of so toxic, so it's like kind of like a downer, and it's like it used to be like I feel like such like an old man, but like when you did books like 4 years ago, everyone was like the community was like just loved each other. Now it's just like two separate, like very distinct groups and like little groups, and like people just like throw shade all around, and like they don't like call the person out, but you know who they're talking about. Like there's all that kind of stuff, and you're like, oh, like you try to like make content around that. It's just like,
you might fall cord in the background.
yeah, it's just one of those. So it's like it's definitely interesting, but yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the hardest parts. It's like if you don't like, I always say this. There's like one person that like I have in my head, who just always complains, but then like they don't put out anything of like what they'd want to see. So it's like, all right, like put something out better. Like if you don't have anything better to put out, then like just like keep to yourself.
Yeah.
Taylor's frozen.
Honestly, like content for me, I was pretty hard on it at first, and then I don't know, like you said, I'd rather just sell stuff on my store. I'd rather like do my real estate. I'd rather do all these other things. Is it harder in reality? Some of it, yeah. It'd probably be easier for me just to crank out courses and stuff in the long run, but I don't know. I just don't have that self-satisfaction as much. I'd rather spend that time messing with my store and growing it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was like when I was coaching. I think that's one of the hardest parts is like when you're telling someone, hey, like buy this or do that, or like, I guess this is the Amazon FBA.
This is Amazon happy hour at night.
I guess we'll keep it going. But yeah, I mean, like, so when it's my money on the line, then like, if it doesn't go well, like that's fine. Well, not fine, but like whatever. But like if I told you to buy something and it tanks and like you were counting on getting that money back or whatever, then like that sucks. And, like that's not kind of like a spot you want to be in, I feel like. And I feel like a lot of people too are like really quick to blame someone else, or like if you put something out and they don't get results, then it's like your fault, but like maybe they didn't do the work. Like it's a very slippery slope, I feel like.
I like coaching, like mentoring, like one-on-one and stuff. Like I love doing that. That's that's great and all, but then in the back of my head, I'm always thinking like, am I providing enough for them? Like they're paying me for my service. Am I providing enough for them? Are they really getting enough out of it? Even if I provide them with all of the information in the world, if they don't put the work into it, then we're not really going to get the results from it. And then in turn, I feel bad because I'm like, they just spent, X amount on my coaching and they didn't do anything with it. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Like when you have those students who do really, really well, you feel like awesome.
Yeah.
And when you have the students who don't do really well, you feel horrible. So it's like I walk that fine line. Like I'm trying to like I would like to have more coaching students, but then like I'm like that's also leading me into like feeling bad. So
Yeah, I would probably, if I were to do like more stuff, like I'd probably do one-on-one more. It'd be
mhm.
definitely like higher, like a higher price, but like it'd almost be like we'd source together. I feel like there's something there. I feel like sometimes it's just really hard to be like, okay, like follow these steps, and it's like, you sit at your computer and like this weird like keep a chart pops up. You're like, this wasn't in like the video. Like, what's going on here? So I think there's like a lot of things that I could do like in a one-on-one setting. I feel like where, and I think like that's the hard part too. It's like time is obviously takes a lot of time, and like time is very valuable, especially if you're running like a bigger business. So to kind of like balance that is hard, but I also think it's frustrating. Like it's hard to get someone results in Amazon in like 5 to 6 weeks because I don't know if you teach them how to source the first 3 weeks and they buy something like they're not getting paid for that for maybe like 6 to 8 weeks down the line, and then it's like the thing's over or whatever.
Yeah, it's just hard. It may seem easy, but like if you have like morals and you care about people, it's not as easy as a transaction. Like I don't treat it as a transaction. I actually care about you and
Agreed.
I want to see you succeed. So
You care about me, Makayla?
yeah, so much.
Sorry, guys. I think my laptop overheated, so I turned my car on, and it's a little cooler now.
Mhm.
Is the air too loud? Is this good? How's the audio?
You're
No.
good.
Okay. What did I miss? Let's see. Someone said,
What's the
John and Makayla,
secret?
what's the secret on blue check mark? Well, I think you can pay for it now. It's only like $15. Taylor, what's the best software you use for sourcing and finding the best products? I do a mix of Seller Amp, storefront stocking, and I do 50% manual sourcing still. I do a mix of the both. But I also have a VA, so I get leads from him as well, and I'm kind of always, you know, uh, doing a mix of those things.
How much sourcing do you do now versus your VA? Do they do most of it or?
Um, it depends. Like one of the things I actually was gonna respond to your point, John, before I got disconnected. You said that you were like, so much into Kohl's, and I've seen this happen in my store a lot. I have a few ASINs or a few stores, like a seasonal product. Something's really, really good, like right now. I've noticed that like a lot of these opportunities, sometimes they only last like a month, 2, 3 months,
Yeah.
and then you're on to the next thing. So one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is like when I find something that maybe it's taking up like an opportunity that's taking up like 70 to 80% of my capital, and I'm cranking it. One of the things I've noticed in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, okay, this is only going to last for who knows 30, 60, 90 more days. So I'm like restocking and I'm milking that opportunity, but in the back of my mind I'm also spending a few hours a week at least on the horizon looking for the next thing, because let's say a ASIN can always get deactivated, a supplier could stop working with you, like you said, your Kohl's account could get shut down. So I'm trying to do both of those, and I feel like that's definitely helped me.
Yeah. That's the one thing I've definitely been doing. I've noticed it in OA more. Like stuff is just I don't know. Definitely been sourcing better in different ways. We've been doing like a lot of Keepa stuff lately, which has been a little easier. But yeah, I've been actually buying heavier up front. I'm a big fan of test buys and all that kind of stuff. But what I've found is I'm usually not like I would say 80 to 90% of the time I'm usually right up front. And then by the time I go to replenish or restock it, it's kind of like on its way down. So I'm like, if I could buy like double or triple up front, we're talking like 20 or 30. We're not talking anything crazy. I definitely have a better, you know, chance
Chance.
to move that more. And then usually once it tanks, then I'm always keep watching it for when like that seller count starts to trickle down. When it's like halfway before the bottom, that's when I'll like double up, triple up, because I know like it's gonna keep going down. People are gonna panic. And then as soon as it goes all the way down, like my stuff is gonna be on Amazon, and like I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm not waiting until it bottoms out because that's what everyone does.
Yeah, that's like the next level thinking. I feel like when you're timing the
Thanks. The
buy.
next level. I appreciate
Yeah, yeah, brother. I feel like when you're first getting started, and this is I feel like the beginner mistake. You're sort of, oh, I can get it for 20. It's selling for 50. You know,
it.
but you didn't look at the timing. You didn't look at like where the price is gonna going. You know.
Yeah, I love that. I used to hate them, but now I love those like roller coaster ones where it's just like it's up, it's down. Like once you know how to like time that, like it's amazing. Because a lot of people stay away from that stuff because like they're like the late buyers where it's just like, oh, I've been watching it and like I'm gonna try it, and then like everyone else does it too, and that's kind of like it.
Yeah. Did you ever spend so much money on a bulk order that you started to feel sick and question if you made the right decision? What a detail. What a detail. You know what? I've never felt sick until probably until like after like weeks later when I saw it tank and I'm like, oh shit, that was stupid.
I have a
I,
good story about this.
I think
What'd you say?
I have a good story about this when John's done.
Yeah, for me, I've never really felt sick over anything. I don't really buy that deep. Like 20, 50, like 100 is probably the deepest I'm ever going. And like it's after like a lot of testing. For me, I probably did feel a little sick in Q4, like right around November, where I had like 100K Amex bill. I'm like, I hope I made like all the right decisions. And like, and it was like, it's slow go. Like, yeah, it like picks up, but like it doesn't really pick up until like end of November ish. That's when everyone starts buying, and like then once it started going, I'm like, damn, I should have bought more.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever really been in a situation where I'm like, shit, like I have no idea how I'm gonna liquidate this. Like I'm way over my head.
Yeah. One of the oh, go. What you were gonna share a story, Makayla?
Yeah, so during the summer last year, you were in that group chat, weren't you, when we were buying backpacks?
Mhm.
I don't think I was.
You don't think so? I swear
Maybe I
you were in
was.
that. If not, okay, but that's beside the point.
Oh, I
Um,
feel so left out now. No.
this is during the back to school craze, and it was well, it was before this group chat was created, but this was in June, and I was talking to Miles, and I was like, "Hey, is now the best time to be buying backpacks for back to school?" Because Kohl's had like a huge sale. I was like, let me check it out. So I was checking it out. The price is really good, and I was like, you know what? I was using the data from last year to predict it, and I was like, this is going to be pretty good. But at this point in time, I had not purchased an order over like maybe 20 units, okay, of one ASIN. So I get on
Yeah.
there and I'm like, hey, Miles, is this the time? He's like, yeah. So it's like, okay. So I bought 100 of each style. So there was like 6 different ones. So I had like 600 backpacks coming to my house. And I got really nervous after the fact because I was like, Makayla, you just bought like 600 backpacks. And I didn't test buy these, mind you. And I never not test buy. But this is like the only time that I've ever done that. And I've been always super conservative, like 1 to 10 for the test buy, and then like no more than like 20 after that. And this, I just right off the rip, I did 100 bags. So like I remember for like a week or two, I like went to bed at night and I was just thinking like, what if I have 600 backpacks sitting in my house? Like, what am I supposed to do? But it ended up working out just fine. I sold thousands of backpacks over the summer. So
Yeah. I mean, I feel like everyone always gets so nervous. Like, well, that's what the most common question. Like, what if it doesn't sell? It's like you have to be pretty. I mean, I feel like risk management is like pretty common sense. Like, if you only have $10,000, don't spend 10 grand on like one ASIN, your first buy. Like,
Yeah.
spend 500 or 1,000 and then wait, you know? Honestly, the worst thing I ever got stuck with was like 3 months in, and I bought like 2 grand of like some Cole Haan shoes, and I didn't sell a single one, and I had to
Oh,
liquidate.
God.
I had to liquidate them all on eBay, and I think I got like $800 back. So I think I lost like $1,200. That was the worst buy ever, and then I never sold shoes again.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a good point. Like, it's really a risk management game. Like, how, comfortable did you like feel like buying this? I always like to know what the break even price is.
Yes.
And like, has it hit in the last 6 months, or like, when was the last time it was at break even? If it's never been at break even, I feel like pretty solid in that. Um, I think you just really want to know the break even and like just be smart about it. Like I remember talking to Jameson about like a Lego set, and he was like, "Bro, like you're either gonna make $5, you're gonna lose 20. Like it's a dumb bet. Like Amazon can come
Exactly.
in. He's like, there's no upside. Now, if you could like make 20, lose $5, then like sure. But like make 5 or lose 20, he's like, that's a stupid bet. Like, don't do that.
I totally agree. That's a good point. Makayla, did you get all the backpacks from Kohl's, and did you FBA or FBM them? And did they end up selling? You never finished the story. We're all on the edge of our seat right now.
Yeah, I sold thousands of backpacks. I
Wow.
can't remember how many, but yeah, it's in the thousands. I sent 2 batches to my prep center at the time, and then I sent 2 batches to my house, and we were just slinging backpacks like from the beginning of July all the way into mid August. Actually, no, it might have been the first week of September. We were just slinging backpacks at my house. And I got some of them from Kohl's, and then some of them from Famous Footwear, and I got banned on Famous Footwear from that.
Really?
We had like a coupon code in the group chat we had, and we abused it. All of us did, and then that coupon code at like maybe 3 or so weeks later, not even 3 weeks, probably 2 weeks later, it was like excluded. It's a buy one get one half off.
Oh damn.
Wow.
We all ran it up, and then like 2 weeks later, they're like, "Oh, like it's excluded now."
When you
They're like,
bought
yeah.
the backpacks, were they profitable, or are you hoping it to be profitable based on like old data?
When we were buying them in the beginning, like the very, very beginning, they weren't profitable at that point in time, but we were anticipating based on the year chart, just like you do with Q4, you're anticipating the sales to be similar to the last year. But once we were further into the month, they were profitable when we were buying them. We were just slinging them. Like we were buying hundreds of them. I'd say together we purchased like at least like $250,000 worth.
Oh my gosh, that's
Wow.
reckless.
We were slinging bags.
We were bag slingers.
I think that's a hard concept for a lot of people to get. It's really hard to like, you can't wait till December to like start buying Legos. Like, there's like, yeah, you don't want to like risk it all, but like, there's like definitely some stuff that's profitable, or like, hopefully you'll know like what to go in on and what not to get in on. I like to just tell people like, everyone's like, how do you prepare for Q4? It's like every day of the year. Like I'm test buying stuff, looking for stuff. If I'm sourcing and I'm just like, this isn't really profitable, but like, damn, if there's like a 30% off sale, it's like, maybe there'll be one on Black Friday. Like put that on a list, and like we're like keep notes, like what sales were last year. And then like you just like when it happens, like you just do your best to like just kind of find profitable stuff. But like, yeah, I think like with back to school, like you can't be buying backpacks in like August and September, because like they're not even going to be checked in until like school started. Everyone has a backpack.
Yeah. You definitely got to look ahead, make plans. But what are the best brands of backpacks to sell?
I just
I
did
mean, I'm
Nike.
guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, Nike is good for
You gotta
sure.
watch some of those brands, they don't let you sell. So
I think Jan Sports gated.
yeah, I think that's That's what I was thinking of. What was it?
I think I actually sold a couple.
Yeah.
I think I sold a Jansport backpack.
You could probably be ungated.
I didn't mess with it.
Yeah, I think backpacks too is one of those things. It's like mostly for kids, and it's like obviously you want everything to match up 100%, but like it's like a little loose. I feel like I've definitely bought a backpack and like I think it had one less pocket or something, and I was like, oh shit, and it was fine. Don't care.
It's just a pocket.
Like, whatever. It's like it's an extra pocket. Like it'll be fine.
We're probably not going to use it anyway.
Probably.
Did you guys all have full-time jobs until your FBA started growing?
I
Makayla?
did.
No, I actually have never had a full-time job.
Kayla was
Wow,
independent
must
and
be
wealthy.
nice.
No, I was in school. That was my
Yo,
full-time
guys,
job.
we're gonna get her out of here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
She was
Well,
independent
okay,
and
so
wealthy. You didn't need to work.
Makayla came from school. John, did you have a full-time job?
Yeah, I had a full-time job for like 3 years before I quit. So yeah, definitely. I actually made an Instagram post about this today. I think a lot of people like are like, yeah, jobs are stupid, but like it's actually one of the best ways to fund your FBA business, like smartly and not on credit, and like kind of allows you to go at your own pace. You always hear people like, "God, go all in," and like, yeah, like there's a time for that. And it's not at the beginning. I gotta like tell
Yeah.
you that.
Yeah, and I think like um a job is a really good stepping stone. I mean, a full-time job. Like, I mean, I was a 4 years ago. I mean, I was just in and out of minimum wage jobs, and then when I got like a salary job at Xerox for like that year, like it was the first time I was like actually like showing up every day for 8 hours. So it kind of forced me to be disciplined in a financial sense. And then yeah, I could use that capital every month that was left over to put into inventory. But
Yeah, I think
you know
too. Like,
what? It's interesting.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's interesting. Like I hated my job, and I'm actually like looking back, I'm actually like really glad I did because like I have a student right now who like he makes 6 figures, but he doesn't hate his job. Like he wants to leave, but he doesn't hate it. And are you guys there? I think we were frozen. Can you
Yeah,
hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. But like I feel like he'd be more motivated if his job sucked more.
yeah. I think one of the most underestimated
But
things about it too is like it obviously depends on where you work, but like I mean you worked at like Xerox. That's like a huge company. So like you get this like if you like a lot of people don't realize like you're at some point in your business, you're not just buying stuff from websites. You actually have to like put some systems in place, get some like documents. So like when you work at a really big company, like they figured a lot of that stuff out. And while like you're not going to have the same like maybe SOPs as Xerox, like at least you know what like one looks like, or how to work with that, or like the structure of like a company and kind of how it operates. I think that could be like a huge benefit because like you don't learn that anywhere, right? Even if you
yeah,
work as a kid, like you're working at like an ice cream store, like it's kind of like Amazon, like just kind of show up, scoop some ice cream, and you don't really know like how that business works at all.
yeah. I didn't learn anything about SOPs or even systems, but I had to make cold calls. I had to make like 40 cold calls to random people to try to sell printers. Oh my god, a day. And like and then like calling a distributor after that to ask for some inventory, that was nothing. Imagine
True.
calling someone up and be like, "Hey, like, you guys have an office manager I could talk to? Do you guys like need a new printer?" Like, oh my god, it was a nightmare.
Were you like Michael Scott from The Office?
Yeah, basically, I was like Dwight.
Twice.
You're right.
I had
I
the glasses on and the tie. No, no glasses. But
I feel like that's like the worst job. I feel like do you have a printer? Like it's not even like you're selling like a service or like something interesting. right? It's
Yeah,
like
it was for
it's like,
and
yeah, bro, we have a printer. Like, we don't need another one. Like,
We need them all.
yeah. That was rough. The only good thing was, and like, if people are looking to make the transition, find a job like this, because this is what I had. We only had to be in the office for the first 3 hours in the morning, and then the next 5 hours we kind of could make our own schedule. So I would actually just go source like during my shift, and they wouldn't know.
Smart.
yeah, that's awesome. That's what I always said. If I'd started with OA, I would have stayed at my job longer because I just source all day at work.
Yeah. If you had to start over today, how would you go about it with 5K? Oh yeah, by the way, Seth, Checkmate Flips. I sent you an invite in your DM, brother. If you want to pop in and hang out with us, I sent you a StreamYard invite. Check your DM.
I will.
So I'll go
Taylor
first,
would
and then we
pay
can
me to
go.
mention him. That's what he would do with the $5,000.
What's that?
You pay for a
No,
mention from me.
that's the second thing I would do. The first thing I would do is, let's see. So if you only have $5,000, like Amazon is like, I wish I kind of knew this before, like earlier, but it's a numbers game. So like, if you start with $5,000 and you're only buying items at a 10% ROI, in a year, you're gonna have like, you're only gonna be able to snowball it so much. But if you have a smaller amount of capital, be really strict with what you buy. Like look for shit that's like 70, 80% ROI. Spend the time because you only can invest that once, and it's gonna take you 2 to 4 weeks to get that back. So I'd say be strict with what you buy. But really, if you're just starting out, focus on learning the process. That's the most important thing. I'd buy 5 different items, diversified across 5 to 10 items, and spend it as soon as possible. Get it back, rinse and repeat. What about you guys? What would you do if you
Yeah,
had 5K?
I think that's good advice. I mean, I think like I'd definitely get Seller Amp and Keepa and probably Inventory Labs. It's crazy, or like something to like kind of track your software. I know you have like a special spreadsheet, but like not everyone's going to start out with that. Because you need to know your numbers. Like I don't know how people are doing it with just like, yeah, like I think it's doing good. Like you need to know.
Yeah,
They'll only run you like $100 a month, which sounds like a lot at first, but I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I think learn the process. Try to like, yeah, spend smartly on inventory. Definitely don't over leverage yourself at all. I think that's a
yeah,
smart move because that's really gonna like hurt you. And I would probably say if you only had like you don't have a job, like it might be best to like I don't know, do something in the gig economy, do Uber or I don't know, whatever you do now, maybe you could do something on the side, like if you
starting
were a
OnlyFans.
copywriter, like teach how people how to write copy or something, kind of generate extra money.
Yeah, I agree. I would use that 5K. I would obviously buy the right tools, Seller Amp, Keepa. I would get Inventory Lab. Isn't there a free trial for it still?
It is. It's like 14 days.
Have that, ruminating background. Obviously, I would my strategy would be to find, the higher ROI stuff just so you can maximize that money. That's exactly what I did when I started, but I started with 10,000. But if I start with 5, do the same thing. And that way you can continuously grow more. If you're taking like 10%, then you're just going to be growing like this much when you could be growing like this much. So
Yeah,
follow the at least 30%. And if you can do more, obviously that's the best. But
And I'm not saying it
nice.
because we coach, but like spending like 100 or $200 on like a consulting call, like if you have very specific questions, like write them down as you go, and then like use someone else's time, like take their $100 and get all your questions answered in literally an hour,
Yeah.
and like you'd be like 10 steps ahead of everyone.
Yeah, and
Like,
if you guys want to get on a consulting call with John or Makayla, their Instagram links are in the description below. So go follow them, send them a message. I think they only charge like 5,000 an hour, or is it 500? No, just
yeah,
kidding.
it's like 5
Uh,
trillion.
yeah.
$5 trillion. So go follow them, guys. Also, if you're interested in our free course, Avery and I put together a free course that's also in the description. All the links are there. So go follow those people and send them a DM. we're gonna bounce out of here, guys. And until next time. And then John